This is Rise. Let's lock in with the goal of changing one life at a time. Yours. Together, let us rise up, inspire, strengthen, and elevate our minds. It's time to rise on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hello, and my name is Dr. Saran Heron, and welcome to Rise. Today we're going to talk about being a teacher, importance of advocacy, life lessons, and culture. My guest today is Andrew Dennis, who has been an educator for 20 years, has taught in Jamaica, United Kingdom, and now in the United States, a cultural ambassador and a philanthropist at heart. Born in Kingston, Jamaica, but grew up with his paternal grandmother in Southeast St. Elizabeth, Jamaica, he attended Red Bank All-Age School and also Waterford High in Portmore and B.B. Koch High in St. Elizabeth, where he completed high school, attended Church Teachers College, obtained a diploma in education in physical education and science, and also attended University of West Indies, where he obtained his bachelor in biology and education, later completed master's in educational measurement, and currently enrolled at the University of South Carolina, working on a PhD in educational psychology and research. He is here to talk about his educational journey, his challenges, importance of advocacy, and how his life lessons have inspired him to continue to strive and make a difference. Andrew Dennis, welcome to Rise here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Thank you for having me. Good evening to your listeners.
Now, we're just going to dive right into it. Now, you're an educator for 2 decades. Tell us, how did you become a teacher? Was it your dream profession?
It was the first profession I was introduced to as a child. As a child growing up with my grandmother in St. Elizabeth, there was not much to aspire after or aspire towards. When I went to school and I saw people dressed up and poised a certain way, that gave me something to emulate. And so we would steal pieces of chalk from the boxes of the teachers, and we would go home and have our own school, writing on the zinc of the kitchen, the zinc wall of the kitchen, and teaching the stones and the trees and so on. And so as I grew, I guess my aspirations to become a teacher actually grew. When I left high school, that's what I qualified to get into. That's what I matriculated to do. And so I went to Teachers College, and the rest is 20 years strong.
Wonderful. Now, you obtained your training in Jamaica West Indies, which qualified you to teach various age groups. What are some age groups that you taught while you were in Jamaica?
Well, I'm trained secondary level, so I've taught at the high school level in Jamaica. As you know, high school in Jamaica and the United States is a little bit different because we don't have the middle school piece in Jamaica. So I taught 7th and 8th grade in Jamaica, 9th, 10th, 11th, the entire high school cohort, so to speak. And then I taught in the UK as well, high school level, and then I taught here for about 5-6 years at the middle school level, teaching science.
Now, we have all experiences that helped to mold us into the person that we are today. And, and that's part of our, what inspired us. What are the things that you could say that helped to mold you into the person you are today?
Miss Burley. Miss Burley grandson is the moniker on social media, and rightfully so, because she's my greatest influence. She gave me even those things that she did not have, growing up as a child. One of the stories that she often told that resonated with me was that her last time attending school, she was a little girl. And in the 1933 hurricane in Jamaica, the school actually blew down. So the top of the school blew off, and she got injured in the process. I'm not sure how that happened, but she obtained a leg injury, and that resulted in her having an infection for a while, and that was her last time in school. Be that as it may, she ensured that she pushed me to accomplish that which she was unable to accomplish. Her circumstances prevented her from maximizing her potential, but she surely inspired me to maximize mine. And so when it comes on to my education and my cultural influences and so on, she's a great part of the driving force that propelled me to the heights that I've accomplished today.
Wonderful. Now, in terms of college training, as you are a biology educator, what are some of the hardest courses that you took in college, and how did you stay motivated to finish college?
When I was in college, everything was hard because I was a toddler. I went to college at 18 years old, graduated just before my 21st birthday. I literally was a child going into the classroom. I don't think I had matured intellectually yet. So things were difficult for me coming out of high school, and things were a little bit difficult for me going into teachers college. Be that as it may, I did my best. My best grades at the time were A's and B's in education courses and B minuses and C's in my science courses. But it is important for the listeners to note that I'm one of those unorthodox matriculants, as it were. I did not necessarily get the subjects that I needed to qualify for teachers college per se. And that was evident as I went through my college journey. But I can say, thanks be to God, I didn't have any failures at that level. But I wasn't soaring at the time as well. Or I should say either. I wasn't soaring at the time either.
Now, you are now a teacher. So
I
you finally arrived at, even though you had challenges, as you mentioned. But how do you now help students to excel and ensure that they succeed?
Well, at this point, I'm actually working with student teachers because I'm currently attending University of South Carolina on a full-time basis. So I'm pursuing my own personal studies, but I'm also employed by the university to work with teachers in training. And so I try to influence or to impact them and try to contribute to ultimately what they will go out there to do in the classroom. So I'm inspiring change at another level, so to speak. As recent as May of this year, I was working with middle school eighth graders, and I did my best to inspire excellence. You know, the United States is a little bit of a different culture than where I am from. And it was a bit of a culture shock when I just came here, but I learned the lay of the land pretty quickly and I adapted and evolved a little bit. And I did my best under the circumstances to try to push students in the right direction and get them inspired to learn and, try to make a change in their lives, especially given the background of some of the students that I taught.
Now, you've been in the school system for quite a while, so we consider you an expert. Now, how did you stay connected with your students, which is very important as a teacher? How do you do that, being that you are a teacher? And when I mean connected, I mean, you're their teacher, but, on a personal level, sometimes there's things going on in their life that they may need a little pep talk, a little encouragement.
The best way to stay connected to your students is to have conversations with them. First of all, the question is an excellent question because the best way to get anywhere with the students or to inspire them to do what you would have them to do is to actually build relationships with them. If there's a disconnect between yourself and your students, if there's a wall between yourself and your students, you're not nearly going to be as effective as you'd like to be. As if you had gone the extra mile and done the extra bit of work to get them to be comfortable with you and feel as though they can talk to you about just about anything, more or less. So the best way to win them over really is to have those kinds of conversations with them and act interested, even if you are not necessarily interested, which is not a good thing if you're a teacher, but they have a thing to say, fake it until you make it. In this context, that would be a good thing to apply, even if you find yourself not being as passionate about what it is that you do as you used to be, you try to not to pass that negative energy on to them. You have conversations with them and act as though you're interested in them, and they open up to you and they begin to trust you, and you'd be shocked to find out how impactful you can be. You may not be the greatest teacher. You may not have the best grasp on your content, but you surely will be effective in terms of trying to inspire change on their part.
Absolutely agree with you. Now, what mindset you mentioned earlier that you are working with individuals who are in training to become a teacher. But what mindset and discipline do you think is important to be an effective teacher, especially when you recognize those students who are not doing well? How do you assist them? Like, what resources can you provide to really help them, achieve their goal or their dream of being a teacher?
Well, I'm listening to the question and I'm processing the question from two different angles. I'm processing the question from my current students as the students being the subject, and I'm processing the question from the students that they will have as the students being the subject. So I'd like you to ask the question again and to tell me specifically which of the students you want me to focus on.
So I want you to focus on the students that you taught as a teacher prior from your experience in terms of being a teacher. What
Okay, go
mindset
with
and
question again.
discipline, the mindset and discipline that is needed to be a good teacher of your
Mind,
profession. Yeah.
mindset, patience,
Mm-hmm.
understanding,
Mm-hmm.
patience, understanding, a passion to inculcate change in the world. In Jamaica, we have this part of the pledge where we say, to play her part in advancing the welfare of the whole human race, an understanding of the role that you play in advancing the welfare of the whole human race, and definitely an understanding that you are not in it for the money because there is none. But just being patient, just being kind, just trying with the students who you see are genuinely trying, because the classroom has become a trying experience, pun intended now, a very trying experience. But regardless how difficult it becomes or how challenging it becomes, you will be able to see, to discern the students that you have who are genuinely interested and genuinely fighting to try to get it. You know what I mean? And because you were once there, because when I'm interacting with my students, I oftentimes see myself in my students, and I have recollections about myself in high school and the undulations of that experience, that it was never a linear, smooth process at all, but that I had ups, I had downs, I had highs, I had lows. There were good days and bad days. There were times when I behaved, and there were times when I act stupid. You know what I mean? And so as I'm processing as a teacher and as I'm trying to connect with them and trying to cause them to do what I want them to do or what the society desires of them, it takes a positive attitude. It takes a certain amount of passion. It takes a certain amount of, just positive energy to just try to go there every day and do what you want to do and be for them what they don't have for themselves. Because for a lot of them, you are the only constant in their lives. For a lot of them, you are the only person that they can look forward to having there on a daily basis. You're the only father figure, the only positive role model, that kind of thing. So it's
Absolutely
more
agree.
than just trying to teach content per se.
Now, you are listening to Rise on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Dr. Saran, and today we're talking with Andrew Dennis, who has been an educator for 20 years, has taught in Jamaica, West Indies, United Kingdom, and now in the United States, a cultural ambassador and a philanthropist at heart. Born in Kingston, Jamaica, but grew up with his paternal grandmother in Southeast St. Elizabeth. He attended Red Bank All-Age School, Waterford High in Portmore, and B.B. Koch High in St. Elizabeth, where he completed high school, attended Church Teachers College, obtained his diploma in education and physical education and science, and also attended University of West Indies to pursue his bachelor in biology and education, and later completed master's in educational measurement, currently enrolled at the University of South Carolina, working on a PhD in educational psychology and research. Now, you are passionate about advocacy. Speak
I
to us
am.
about that.
I am passionate about advocacy because people in the world are unkind. Everybody who has the opportunity to take advantage of somebody oftentimes capitalize on that opportunity. That's not okay. If you, they have a saying to say that the bullies are often victims in some instances. So they were at one point bullied, and so they get to the point where they begin to bully others. Everybody tends to have somebody weaker than them and then somebody stronger than them, they are oftentimes manipulated by the stronger ones, and then they in turn manipulate the weaker ones. It is not okay. It's a horrible system. I am passionate about advocacy because I care about the treatment of the disadvantaged or the less fortunate or the weak. And I find that in our society, there are a lot of people who fall within, a lot of people from different groups that fall within that category of being weak or disadvantaged, unable to express themselves in certain regard out of fear of reprisal or victimization or just being ostracized or alienated. And I find myself sometimes against my own will, sometimes even sabotaging myself. I find myself standing up for those people.
Now, bring us back to the moment where you were living in Kingston and then you moved to St. Elizabeth. You were persistent and you ensured that you got right back into high school. Talk to us about that.
I was living in Portmore. I was attending Waterford High School, and it got a little bit tumultuous. It got a little bit difficult. I don't know to what specific factor, variable thing I can attribute those difficulties, but I know that it really did got challenging for me at one point. And as I grew older, especially as I got into education, I started to think to myself that probably I was going through those hormonal changes that, people go through at puberty. And I did not necessarily know how to, maturely maneuver, the changes that were taking place in my body. But Waterford was a difficult time, especially when I got to grade 9. And so I grew up in St. Elizabeth, as you have established. I left St. Elizabeth when I passed common entrance in 1994. My father took me to Waterford to live with my mom and her mom. I started attending high school there. Initially, it was a lovely experience. It was beautiful. Everything was just nice. Neighbors were close. Water came from the tap. There was an inside bathroom and I pressed a little thing and it flushed, that kind of thing. All of those things were novelty items for me at the time and quite the contrast to what I was familiar with in St. Elizabeth. But having spent 2 years and some change in Waterford, there's something about the place that just rubbed me the wrong way. It's almost as though I was trying, effortlessly could not fit in for no reason whatsoever. I was in and of my own self bullied at the time because I was seen as different and because I sounded different. I was quote unquote othered by my classmates and so on. And after a while, it got to me and I wanted to be out of there. So my mom at the time would give me my lunch money for the entire week on a Sunday. At the time, it was 200 Jamaican dollars, $40 per day. And when she gave me my lunch money that Sunday night, I decided that I was going to use that to pay my bus fare to go back to St. Elizabeth where it was familiar. And so I did just that. I packed a bag. I got up early Monday morning before the rest of the house was up. I took my little bag. I found myself downtown and I went back to St. Elizabeth where everything was familiar. When I got there, my grandmother was there waiting for me. She didn't ask me any questions. She didn't accuse me. She didn't judge me. She didn't say to me, "Why aren't you in school?" She didn't insist that I go back to Portmore. She welcomed me back with open arms. I sat out of school for quite some time. I didn't go back to school right away. And then when I would have been out of school for probably about 3-4 months, because this happened in late October, early November, and I did not go back to school until April. When I went back to school, I did not go back to my original school in Waterford. I decided to go to BB which is the school that I originally passed for in St. Elizabeth. Obviously, I'm no longer a student at that school. Obviously, the people at the school don't know who I am. So when I put my khaki clothes on and showed up at school, it was quite the interesting experience because nobody knew me. But I just told myself, I am going to school, and that's the school I wanted to go to. So I just showed up.
Now, growing up and becoming who you are today, you experienced a few challenges. Share with us some of those challenges and how you would say you beat the odds.
The challenges were many and varied, but truth be told, when you are in the situation, sometimes you are not even aware of all the details of the situation. You know that you are poor and you know that you are depraved in some way, but you don't know the details of it. And so I could talk about the challenges I had, but the truth is that those were, different chapters of my life being written that have contributed to a wealth today that I would not trade for anything, because my cultural, advocacy and ambassadorship and all of that I do on my social media platforms today is as a result of the quote unquote challenges that I experienced when I was growing up. I walked to school anywhere between 3 and 4 miles to and from each day. There were times when we didn't have what we would have wanted. My grandmother made do with what she had, and she didn't give us the impression that we were lacking, which is what made the difference at the time. So I could talk about, having to use lavatory, conditions being not great and far removed from the house, and place to take a bath being far removed from the house, and the kitchen being far removed from the house, and all that good stuff. I could talk about going to the tank and transporting water in a bucket on my head and all of that good stuff. It's the typical child growing up in the 1980s, early 1990s in rural Jamaica. But truth be told, that has created a story that is so absolutely beautiful that now that I'm looking back, I would not trade my quote unquote challenges for anything.
Now, today you're able to pull from your experiences and persistence from your grandmother to you continue to excel. What are some life lessons that you've been taught? I know you mentioned a few earlier, and today you could tap into when necessary, when you're hitting those roadblocks and you have to be persistent, sorry. What are some of those things that you could pull from your experience to keep you going?
Push. That's it. Push. When everything is going in the opposite direction, when the odds are stacked against you, push. I saw a grandmother who pushed. I didn't see one who failed, who gave up. I didn't see one who was willing to surrender or to relent. I saw somebody who pushed. I saw tenacity. I saw strength. I saw resilience. And so, even in her death, her legacy lives on because she has taught me how to push, and she has taught me how to make good with, as them would say in Jamaica, little or nothing. You know what I mean? So if it is that I find myself in a situation where I don't have it the way I would want it, I am not going to be as affected as somebody else who is used to a lofty, lavish lifestyle. Because the truth is, even though I've gotten to the place in my life where I can now spoil myself with certain niceties, and I've gotten to a place now where I can appreciate the finer things in life, that is not to say that if conditions become a little bit stringent, I am going to be grossly affected by it. I'm not, because I grew up with a grandmother who knew what it meant to toe the line, who knew what it meant for tan pan crooked and cut straight, as them would say in Jamaica, who knew what it meant to suck salt through a wooden spoon kind of thing. Like, she knew the harsh life, and she did her best with what she had. And so I learned that, I have that. That's a lesson that nobody can take from me at this time.
Amazing. You are listening to Rise on the Voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. My name is Dr. Saran Heron, and today we're talking to my guest, Andrew Dennis, who has been an educator for 20 years, has taught in Jamaica, West Indies, United Kingdom, and now in the United States, a cultural ambassador, a philanthropist at heart. Born in Kingston, Jamaica, but grew up with his paternal grandmother in Southeast St. Elizabeth. He attended Red Bank All-Age School in St. Elizabeth, also attended Waterford High in Portmore and B.B. Coke High in St. Elizabeth, where he completed high school. He also attended Church Teachers College, obtained a diploma in education in physical education and science, University of West Indies, to pursue his bachelor's in biology and education, later completed his master's in educational measurement, currently enrolled at the University of South Carolina, working on a PhD in educational psychology and research. Now, you like to make people laugh and feel good, as you call it. Why is that important to you?
Because laughter is a part of what got me through my darker days. I've always been a laugher. I've always, learned. I learned very early how to make light of, situations. I'm not sure if I can attribute my liking to make people laugh to being in any uncomfortable situations in the past and trying to navigate. I don't know the reason really, but I know that I'm a people person in some regard, because when I tell people I'm an introvert and I tend to be shy, they laugh at me. But that's the case as well. But I'm a people person in some regard. I like to make people happy. I like to make people comfortable. I like to make people feel good. And because of that, I find that my personality over time adapted and adjusted to become that I can be the life of the party if it is necessary, especially if the party doesn't have any life. Like, I don't want people to be in a space where they feel uncomfortable if I can do something about it.
Wonderful. Now, anything you're working on that you want to share with our listening audience?
There is so much that I'm working on at the moment, and so much that I can ask my fans and my friends to look out for. First of all, I'm so very thankful for every single person who follow my page, for every single person who interact with me and with others under my post online. I'm really, really grateful for that. And I am grateful for the people who push me and who encourage me as well, because there is a group of people who are constantly in my inbox and who are telling me, listen, don't give up. What you have is a beautiful product. Keep on honing your craft, work on it, that kind of thing. So as it is now, I have my YouTube channel that needs some invigorating. So if people would follow me there and subscribe to my channel, that'd be great. I have a website, mpgproductions.com, that's going to be launched at the end of this month. No later than the first week of December. I have Jamaica Unleashed, a magazine that is coming out that has beautiful cultural information about our beautiful gem, Jamaica. And then there are other things. There's a t-shirt line that I'm working on, and there are one or two things that I'm working on as well. What people will see, because I know that people follow online and they see what is going on. So you'll definitely see things coming from the desk of Miss Pearly Grandson via MPG Productions.
Wonderful. Now, as we are wrapping up the show, what's one best life lesson that you want to leave with our listeners who have been listening to the program that you remind yourself at times too?
Treat people good.
Wonderful.
People will not necessarily remember you for who you are, for what you have, but people will remember you for how you made them feel. For every opportunity that you get to interact with somebody, try to leave a mark. Try to leave a positive mark on their brains. Even if they don't remember what you look like, they should have memories of you that cause their heart to smile.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here, Andrew Dennis.
Thank you for having me. My absolute pleasure.
I'm Dr. Saran Heron. I hope you will find your own voice and passion. We must ensure we advocate for students, even patients, whatever population you serve, and help to make things better. We need to be the change we want to see.